Oh, yes. That's what I like to hear.
What?
That the recording is in progress.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
it is.
That, and I mean, I don't mind total silence sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So either one.
Yeah. Be easier to edit.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be easier to edit.
Just silence. It'd be great.
Citizens of Earth, welcome to Accelerativ Thrust. I am Dan.
And I'm Eric.
And today we are going to talk about a slew. A slew. I like that word slew. It kind of reminds me of stew.
It kind of reminds me of the slough.
Yeah, it reminds me of the
South
also. Probably more like the slough. Now, what was the slough?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is. It's a big kind of body of water that runs behind Kent Stein Park.
Yep.
And yeah. I don't know what the slough is.
Gotcha. Okay.
We'll have to have an interview with someone from the South End.
If anybody from South End Muscatine is listening, please come on the show. It's very important that we talk to you.
Yeah,
we need to know what the slough is.
I lived there like the first 7 years of my life, but I just wasn't asking the right questions. I guess.
Yeah. You should have had a podcast then.
Yeah. It would have been about I don't know, Kiss maybe, and He-Men.
Yeah. He-Men or He-Man?
Well, He-Men is what I called them when I was that age.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go play He-Men.
I'm gonna play with He-Men.
Yeah. Wasn't that the principal at MHS, by the way?
Heineman. Yes.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
But yeah, Mr. He-Man. Yeah. He-Man. I heard that He-Man got into some trouble.
Oh, yeah?
I heard he knocked a kid off a bike or something. It's like, I've had enough.
Oh, man.
One of those things. Yep.
Wow.
Mr. Hyman, if you're listening, why don't you come on the show and clear things up for us? I would hate to pass misinformation at the expense of you.
Right. We wouldn't want you to get mad and break again.
Yeah. I don't want you knocking me off my bike. Broken Hyman. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I see what you did there.
Okay, well.
Jesus Christ. You shouldn't say the Lord's name in vain. Really.
It's my favorite thing to do, though. I'm sorry. Wow. It's the only reason I do this podcast.
You're probably going to go to hell.
I guess if I believed in it, I might.
Yeah.
See, that's the hack. That's the afterlife hack.
Oh, so you just don't believe in something and then it's true.
Yeah. Or it's not true. Yeah. I've had no evidence of hell.
No. Huh.
So, and I don't think there is any evidence.
I think that we're in hell.
This is hell. This is hell.
Oh, then that is provable. If that's your hypothesis.
Double hockey sticks.
Yeah.
I wish that's how they would have taught it. Like in catechism. HE double hockey sticks, because they don't even want to say the word because it's like cursing,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. If you say it, you got to go there.
you got to go there. If you say it,
What else is going on? Superstars go to space.
Yeah, superstars go to space. A lot of really cool local musicians are still making some really cool records.
Yeah, here on Earth.
Earth
music they're making.
This is Earth Radio. And now here's human music.
So, what do we got here? We got like 5
What
albums.
are we doing today? Yeah, we're doing a local roundup.
You ain't from around here, are you, boy?
We're doing a whole slew. There's that word again. Slew.
Yeah, slew.
Yeah, I think that's just going to be the word of the week.
Yeah.
And week spelled W-E-A-K.
Yeah, the word of the week is
word
slew.
of the week.
Let's get to these goddamn records.
Let's get to these records.
My brain doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about 5 local records.
Come on, everybody, it's record time.
Yes.
Yeah, the first one is friend of the show, Cory Peak.
Yep.
And yeah, take it, Dan.
Sure. Great friend, as Eric said, of both of us, the show. I've known Cory for 20 plus years now. That Cory, this is an album called Computer Image. And it seems like lately Cory has been indulging himself into the electronic side of things, which is really no surprise. He's kind of been doing this on the side for quite a while, like ever since he started his cassette label, Sass Baloney. He's always had a huge interest in things like electronic music, hip hop, vaporwave, trip hop, what have you. Not only has he put out records of himself doing this for years now, but also countless artists that he's discovered through the internet. Yeah, this is another record from Cory where he's doing that kind of stuff. All of the influences are there: jungle, breakbeat, drum and bass, vaporwave, hip hop, trip hop, even like some chip tunes kind of, and video game music. I mean, the samples are, as always, used very creatively. I mean, Cory,
did you say jungle too?
Yeah, I think,
and hyper pop maybe a little.
Yeah, hyper pop. Yeah, definitely hyper pop. I didn't even think about that.
A lot of stuff.
There's also a track recorded by his bandmate Alex Christ from Closet Witch. As always, the samples are just really used creatively. Often they resemble, to me, kind of old movie themes, which kind of seems to be a thing that Cory's kind of into. Like he seems to scour maybe like I don't know, and I don't know if this is true or not, but what's that? What's it called when the copyright is like up on it?
Public domain. Public domain.
He seems to. And I could be wrong about this, but my assumption, or maybe he uses a lot of public domain stuff. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
I think one of the best examples of this kind of stuff, which brings sort of this nostalgia element to me, is the track Rise of Mentaurus, which straight up sounds like a villain entrance theme, and like, take your pick on any 80s action cartoon. Yeah. Like, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that one in particular, I thought actually sounded like Keller synth stuff. Yeah, like Lysergic Suicide.
Oh, yeah.
Because the drums are real heavy and real 8-bit sounding on that song. It's awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. And I didn't even think about the influence of dungeon synth on Cory stuff. I mean, Cory just like, he's kind of developed this ability now where he's been an artist for so long in a few different mediums that he kind of has developed this ability to where if he gets his hands on it, he's going to do something cool with it, you know? And that just sort of seems to be where Cory's at. And I think that's awesome.
For sure. Yeah, I love the complexity and the depth of the samples. It's cool because like sometimes those harsher elements kind of fade away, and then you realize that it's like a really pretty mellow kind of moment that kind of shines through all the high energy aspects of it. I thought that was really cool. I really like, because I assume that this is samples plus some synth playing on Cory's part. At least that's what it sounds like to me. And the synth sounds really reminded me of Tobacco or Black Moth Super Rainbow, like those kind of synths, like specifically the Octave Cat synth that Tobacco uses. That just real fat and I don't know, squeezy. You know, classic synth term, squeezy.
Squeezy. Yeah. He definitely has that sort of vintage like I don't want to call his music vintage by any means, but it does have that kind of element to it, for sure. And I think Tobacco's stuff for sure does as well. And I could definitely see the comparison to Tobacco for sure.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I think if you're into any genre that I mentioned, I think that you could scope this out and find something you dig on it for sure.
Yeah, my recommended if you like for this one was Black Moth Super Rainbow, Mr. Feathers, and Kill Alters. I figured if you like those things, you probably would like this.
For sure. Yeah. Great. Yeah, and I think honestly you've summed it up. Basically, I just kind of said all mentioned genres because and I didn't even think about Tobacco or Black Moth Super Rainbow, but that's a really, really good call. And Kill Alters too. But I wish I was more familiar with, this kind of genre to where I could list off more artists,
Oh yeah. I had trouble figuring out who it sounds like because I don't listen to a lot of, I don't know. Well, when it gets faster like that, like jungle, then I usually just skip straight to gabber stuff. Like
sure. Yeah.
There's like slow, ambient, formless electronic music, and then there's gabber. And then those are like my extremes. And then stuff in the middle sometimes makes its way through. So
for sure. Yeah. And it's I'm still confused as to what like all the genres are. You could probably play me a gabber artist, a vaporwave artist, and like a jungle or breakbeat artist, and I would probably just be like, oh, that's electronic music. You know what I mean? Right.
Yeah, which is fine. It's great. A lot of times the genres just stop you from listening to things. A lot of the time, like
absolutely.
If you read a certain description of something, you'd be like, oh, I don't like that already. So even though we do reviews on this show, you shouldn't take our word for it.
No, great stuff, Cory.
Great
as
stuff.
Always. Great stuff.
So next we have a record by Dizzy Bridges called Spot the Pattern. The way I thought about this one was kind of like Baroque, deconstructed psych pop. But I don't even think that does it justice. Like, it really is interesting. And it has a lot of different elements to it. Very cool arrangements. The playing is awesome. The instrumentation is awesome. They have piano, electric piano, synthesizers, cello, bells, horns, bass, drums, guitars. And a lot of it's not presented as straight songs played by a band. Like, all of a sudden you could have bells come in out of nowhere and cello and things like that. But yeah, it also has this almost soft rock element to it as well, which I think is thoroughly modern, but retro at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely think that I'm kind of with you there for your description. I kind of just thought that it was kind of a very interesting, cool take on indie pop, but it has an experimental edge to it where things kind of get a little wild sometimes. Like you were saying, sometimes like it doesn't seem like it's intentionally trying to be like conventional songs. Like the songs are very catchy, but often goes like several places within the song. Like, okay, the best example of this is actually the opening track called Getting Time. There's this breakdown sort of in the middle, or actually I guess it's closer to the end of the song, where it just all of a sudden, just kind of out of nowhere, it kind of intentionally like I don't know, falls apart. Like it's almost kind of like this deconstructed breakdown where like you just hear like this sort of like banging on drums that's kind of like purposely out of time, like almost like he's trying to convey a sound check or something on record. But then like it comes right back to like this just gorgeous melody. And it's the singer's name is Skylar Gonzalez, and I gather that this is kind of his solo project, or
That's what it seems like,
or it started out that way. But according to the Bandcamp, there's some other people like Michael Hamlet is on drums, Addison Payne on bass guitar and production, and like you said, there's cellos and there's slides and all kinds of things. And he made sure to kind of let me know that the album was mastered by Luke Tweedy at Flat Black, but it was also engineered with the drums mixed by Charlie Cacciatore. That totally makes sense. I don't know what their connection beyond that would be to Good Morning Midnight, if any, but this kind of has that same sort of aesthetic in some ways.
I can see that. Yeah, it's kind of that soft rock element to it. But yeah, absolutely. I think that this is super theatrical. That's what I took away from it. It's trying to kind of move you through the song, the way it's arranged, the way it makes you feel, the way the song wants to make you feel, if that makes any sense. And a lot of the choices as far as arrangement and all that stuff, the word I would use is brave, because it's like some of it doesn't make a lot of sense and some of it really swings for the fences. Like, you know, a real messy guitar solo might come in on an otherwise beautiful and perfect track, you know, just ideas like that to offset things and, you know, keep things really interesting. But yeah, the vocals are cool. Like you brought up, I think that the main vocal, and it may just be because it's double tracked, reminded me a lot of John Lennon.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of backup vocals that remind me of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. They have like 3-part harmonies going on. So very cool in the vocal.
That is so interesting you brought up Lennon, because I wrote the same exact thing down. But you know who else it reminded me of a little bit was Jeff Magnum from Neutral Milk Hotel.
I can see that for sure.
And as a matter of fact, this record had elements that reminded me a lot of like various Elephant Six.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Bands. But you know, there's also like the Beatles for sure, but I heard a lot of like Shins, Flaming Lips, Polyphonic Spree, Beach Boys, Sufjan Stevens, and this band called the Unicorns. Like, all of those bands. Like, this it's just really, really good indie pop. And I don't know, maybe pop's not even the right way to describe
I think it is. I think it absolutely is pop. Yeah. What I had for recommended, if you like, I also had the Shins. I had Kevin Morby. I had the Fleet Foxes, Seals and Croft, which is sort of that yacht rock, soft rock element.
Sure.
But the thing that it really reminded me of the most was Badfinger, which is strange if you just think of like China Grove or something. But basically Badfinger, you know, everyone kind of thought it was the Beatles when it first came out. But it, to me, is hoppier, and it is able to, I don't know, be a little bit more what it wants to be. Like Badfinger's kind of in control. Not that the Beatles weren't in control, but they always had to be the Beatles, you know?
Sure.
And so like that was, I think, a pressure that you can sort of hear in the music. Like we can't go too far with this. You know, we can go pretty far. But yeah, Badfinger, I that's what I heard the most throughout the whole record. So I hope that's okay with Dizzy Bridges.
Well,
it's a compliment, I promise. Yeah.
But
good stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, great stuff.
It's been a spending spree across the 7 seas to be where it's at. Talk more and you'll jinx it. Talk more and you'll start talking shit. Here it comes and there it goes just like that. I've lived this life a lifetime now, so something's got to give. Enough's enough. Alright, already. Something's give a little bit, get a little bit better by.
Next up, we have Eon Alexakis with the EP known as Broken Glass. Eon has been a rapper for quite some time in the Iowa City scene, the Iowa City hip hop scene. Although putting him in just the hip hop category is really not exactly 100% accurate by any stretch of the imagination. He really does a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
This is a record where there are times where, and I'm not sure. I saw Eon perform ages ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was probably like 2009, 2010. And he was pretty much straight hip hop at that time. He had another guy that was rapping with him by the name of Romulan. And it reminded me of like Rhyme Sayers, kind of atmosphere stuff, and Sage Francis and things like that. That's kind of what his style reminded me of. But since then, he has evolved into doing a lot of different stuff. And this EP, I think, is a excellent display of that. Sometimes he finds himself rapping and doing a really, really good job, but then there are other times where he's straight up singing. And I mean, he's got a really great voice.
Right. And not talk singing, like real singing.
Real singing. And there's also live instrumentation, a lot of really great sounding guitar. In fact, there's one song where it is just guitar with some really kick-ass reverb and Eon singing. Yeah. And it's recorded very well, which doesn't surprise me because he's also part of the Vault recording studio in West Liberty. And so he probably knows a lot about recording and mixing. And you can tell that just from listening to it.
For sure. Yeah. What I really liked about this a lot was I feel like it's very organic feeling, even though I know some things are sampled. But what's cool is I can't tell what was sampled and what was played live. And that's really cool because either way, the performances and the production sound awesome, but it gives it this different element to it. Like there's like kind of like trip hop and soul and gospel and rock and punk, and it's all kind of together, which makes it feel almost experimental at times, but it never quite gets to that point. It just ends up being really interesting and engaging and keeping your attention because it's always changing so much. And so that was my favorite part of it was I absolutely could not tell what was played live or what was sampled. So that's pretty cool.
There's a lot going on, but it's not overdone. And there's also an aspect of it too that I feel is very relaxing too when you're listening to it. It's just very well crafted, and you can tell that, he took a lot of time into the arrangements, the lyrics, the instrumentation, and he's crafted a sound that I feel is, like you said, Eric, organic, very organic. There's not, it doesn't sound the least bit processed at all. And the lyrics are also really good. His voice kind of reminds me of some John Mayer, and also crossed with like Sage Francis and Cheshi and Atmosphere and then Cage and all these sort of rappers that were big in the indie underground in like the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this reminds me of.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, did you have anybody that this particularly reminded you of?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I mean, I would say that hip hop is one of my blind spots. I mean, I listen to a lot of what I would consider rap and hip hop, but it's all very weird and unlistenable almost. But yeah, the things it reminded me of as far as the music goes, Saul Williams, it just had like these elements of real instruments and things like that. And his delivery, honestly, was a little like Saul Williams as far as the rapping goes.
Yes.
I had TV on the radio, and that's more of like the music part of it, where it is samples and it is real instruments a lot of times and mixed together. As far as the singing and rapping, Kid Cudi was something that came to mind too. So yeah, good stuff.
We stay aviated, deviant elevation. The money stepping left, but still convert the congregation. Gotta neutralize the threat. We intercept this interference, cohesively invested in a wreckage. This whole world's compressed. We only as wealthy as our debts. Remedial yet contagious. You can find me on the front pages. Ask your neighbors. Citywide radius framed around my patience. Throw your hand front of the gun, or you can save us. And I packed a meal. Management looking for that package deal. And it's poison in the atmosphere. Never left my sight.
Okay, so next we have Thought Wrong. Through All My Worst Days is the name of the tape. And it's out on Pokey's Records, whom we've reviewed quite a few things from them. And we've had Dolly on the show, which was fun. Anyway, Thought Wrong. Pretty fun band to see. I'll start with that. Pretty intense stuff. They kind of play into this tough, hardcore kind of element, which is cool. Musically, I understand that it probably shares some DNA with a lot of, I don't know, D-beat or hardcore, stuff like that. But for me, it was very much, and their last release also was very much felt like kind of classic crossover to me. It's real heavy, skronky guitars. It's a little swingy, actually, which is great. It's got a little bit of a swing to everything. But yeah, to me, it reminded me of kind of almost like traditional crossover, whatever that may be, But yeah, I love the vocalist. Super cool. Very much Mike Muir from Suicidal or Kurt Breck from d.i.y. On this one, it's a little different, though, because they added distortion to some of the vocals, which is cool. Sounds great. It adds almost like a digital hardcore feel to some elements of it. And there are background and gang vocals that also sound great. Like there's like almost harmonies at points with the vocals, which is really sick. So I loved everything about it. The guitars are super heavy, super splattery, distortion. I know that's a gross description, but that's how it is. Drums and bass are super fast, heavy, but also kind of finding their own pockets to be in. Bass tone is very crossover sounding, very low, like strings kind of just hanging off the bass is what it sounds like. But yeah, I loved this, and I think as a band, it's tighter than the last one. The recording is better quality, and yeah, I just loved it. I don't know, what do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that this was just very intense, very in your face, very short and to the point, no fucking around, well done, old school hardcore. I mean, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's done the way that it's supposed to be, just very angry, loud. It should be noted too that Alex Christ from Closet Witch recorded this. So the production is very dense and metallic, and it kind of reminds me of a Closet Witch recording,
I can
a little
see that.
bit.
It's kind of shiny like that.
It's very in your face. Vocals are so guttural. I mean, it never lets up. Yeah, I can see the comparisons to crossover for sure. For me, just the presentation and how it was sort of rolled out and everything in terms of the sonics of it. It reminds me a lot of late 90s early 2000s hardcore. And I think I say that a lot when I hear this style of music. But I mean, bands that come to mind for me are like Refused, Snapcase, early Turnstile, Touche Amore, Drowning Man, Boy Sets Fire, Inside Out. Yeah, so, a lot of that sort of late 90s, early 2000s hardcore. And so that, that's kind of where I thought that it stood as far as cool. Sound.
Yeah, because I mean, probably falls somewhere between how we both heard it, because honestly, I mentioned Suicidal D.i.y, also Cryptic Slaughter, but I'm sure there's all kinds of other hardcore elements involved that I just don't know about. So yeah, but it's great. The vocals, it's not like screaming and it's not like growling. It's like shouting. And I really like that. It adds chaotic element to it. Yeah, I really enjoyed all this. I love Pokey's records. I love Dolly. This whole thing is rad. That's about it.
So on to our last local pick, Iowa City-based Moscow Puzzles, friend of the show. We've had them on. We've reviewed at least one of their releases. We may have reviewed a couple of them, but Moscow Puzzles are always welcome on this show, whether in music form or people form, because they're great people. But post-rock duo, Tobin Hoover on guitar and Tony Anders on drums. No vocals, very minimalist, but I also feel like their music sounds so full. And this time around, I kind of feel that they're kind of bringing out a little more of their heavier influences in this one. I think it's coming to the surface that they're really into like the heavier side of like 90s post-rock, indie rock type stuff, or just not even 90s, just overall that genre. I mean, the guitars, I think, scream a lot more. Like Tobin's guitar tone is just super grisly and gnarly in the best ways. There's more emphasis on riffs with this release, I think. Performance is so tight. A lot of build-ups. There's like this repetition that kind of makes you anticipate what happens next. You're kind of like, oh, where's this gonna go? And it kind of makes you want to keep listening. It's just really, really entertaining. And also, Tony's drumming is absolutely incredible on this record. But yeah, the mix of the guitar and drums together, it sounds so amazing in full. And it's like you almost forget that there's no bass.
That's what's funny about this. I was going to bring that up. So I totally agree that this is more aggressive sounding. And I don't mean anger. I just mean like heaviness than the previous stuff that I've heard from them. Heavier guitars. The drums seem a little more intentional, if that makes any sense. A lot more straightforward. And I don't know, the whole thing just seems tight and heavier. But the thing about it is there's no bass, right, listed in the credits.
Right.
But every song I seriously feel like is driven by a bass. And I don't know how that works unless, we're just going to have to ask them. I don't know. Like I can come up with many scenarios of how there's a bass in there. But It does sound like it, and it's super prevalent throughout the whole thing. And it sounds awesome. I love things that are bass forward, that sound that way. Like, to me, it sounded kind of like Fugazi or Shellac.
Yes.
And which is pretty crazy considering previous reviews of Moscow Puzzles. We didn't say anything like that,
No.
And I think it's great. I think that I think it's nice to have them open up a little bit more to that kind of thing, more than the sort of orchestral post rock elements. It's still slinky and dreamy and orchestral, but now it's got some teeth to it. So, and even some spaghetti western feels, like kind of twangy. I loved that, obviously, because I love that stuff. But yeah,
Absolutely.
really different kind of approach this time. I loved it. Super cool.
Absolutely. And I mean, my recommended, if you like, were like Juno, June 44, Slint, which are kind of the usual. So I know that I compared them to Slint in the past, but the guitar work from Tobin really reminded me a lot of Dwayne Dennison of the Jesus Lizard in parts. I mean, so Jesus Lizard, like you said, Shellac and Fugazi, 100%. Also, the instrumental group that has Brendan Canty and Joe Lally from Fugazi, the Mysthetics. I heard a lot of Unwound in this.
Yeah.
Mono, Tristeza. I mean, it's just instrumental, like, just so good, and just their technique and their tightness, everything is just to like level 10 by now. Like, you can tell these guys have been honing their craft for a while now, for a few years.
Yeah, I would also add maybe Mogwai and Don Caballero to that mix.
For sure.
My favorite song was the Monumentation 2. That shit's heavy. It's crazy.
It is.
I just, the whole thing, I was really pleasantly surprised by how hard, how heavy they had gotten. It's good stuff.
Definitely. And there was even like a Melvins or Earth element to some of this stuff.
Yeah, some of it for sure.
Yeah. Great stuff. So we forgot to talk last week about what we were listening to, Eric.
The last 2 weeks, actually. Yeah.
Really? We forgot the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
Holy crap! We're letting things slip.
So the last 2 episodes we forgot to talk about what we have been listening to. So I think we should. What have you been listening to, Dan?
All right. So it's a new record from Buck Gooder.
Oh, yeah.
Who we've reviewed on the show.
Yeah.
So I listened to it, and the name of the new album is called King Kong Lives, Theremin Insanity. And I really honestly do not know where they're going with it. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a concept record about King Kong, or if it has anything to do really with King Kong or whatever, but it is messed up. It's way more messed up than the record that we reviewed a few years back. So I've been listening to that record, and I've actually been going back and listening to a lot of Buck Gooder.
Cool.
And including the record that we reviewed with Nailed to the Cross on it. That's a group that I strongly recommend. Another group, Purbats, Purrbats, really weird, like sort of, I don't know, imagine if like Ween and, I don't know, Six Finger Satellite, a little bit of Devo, kind of stuff like that. Really, really interesting stuff. When they play live, they wear costumes, go figure. Jim Sullivan, UFO. Are you familiar with Jim Sullivan at all, Eric?
Nope.
He was a singer-songwriter from like the 70s, and he put out this record called UFO, and it's a fantastic record. It's just like really good, like folk rock. But anyway, he disappeared. Like legend has it, he like just started like walking into the desert, and he disappeared and never came back.
Wow.
So yeah, and I think he put out a couple of other records before he did that though. But his first record, UFO, fantastic.
Sweet.
I've been listening to the Kim Deal solo record.
Nice.
Great stuff. Kate Bush, The Dreaming. After Brooks mentioned that as like one of his favorite records. I remember him telling me about that record a while back, and I listened. I bought a used copy of it from Ragged Records in the Quad Cities, but something happened to it and I lost it. So maybe I sold it, or maybe I just lost it through all the moving that I've done since then. So I listened to that again. And then also I've just been listening to a lot of Ween. Random Ween this week. Like I mean, pretty much all the records, but basically I've been just making a playlist of Ween.
Nice. Can't go wrong with Ween.
No, absolutely you cannot.
I have been listening to that Stress Orphan record. The Club of Rome. I don't know. I just got a hankering to hear it, and it's really cool. I've been listening to the collection of Axiom Funk bands called Funk Ronomicon. I've been listening to Bell Torn, the Oppressor album. It's good. Death ambient stuff. There's a band called Zart, Czart, and they only have singles out right now. But really, you should go to YouTube and watch their videos. They're really crazy and fun, and they're kind of like blackened hardcore, maybe. I don't know. And then I've also been listening to 99.9 Fahrenheit Degrees by Suzanne Vega, which is one of my favorite albums of all time, and honestly should have made my list. I didn't think about it till later. But yeah, someone else should have gotten kicked off to make space for that album because it's so great. That's about it that I've been listening to.
Cool. Yeah, there's still to this day, there's several albums I'm like, I can't believe that this didn't make my favorite list. You know, like
for sure, so
many of them. I'm actually mad at myself for not including certain ones.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in both of us.
That's never happened before that episode. You know, we were always like on point as far as we.
Right. We're always right, and
we're always
considerate and smart and beautiful.
Yep, and we love you.
Oh my gosh. Well,
so I mean, we learned a lot today.
Yeah, we did. We covered a lot.
I don't think we could possibly learn any more.
I guess that's it. I don't know. Yeah, all right.
I would say so. Bye.
Bye. Superstars go to space.